Good morning again, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us on this post-Super Bowl Monday. I am Marchette Turner, Director of the Minority Business Development Agency here in Houston, and I'm excited about what my MBDA Amplified team has prepared for you. This 10-week Small Business Academy is twofold. First, we want to provide you as small or startup businesses with the one-on-one business training and coaching you need to further grow and develop your business. And then second, we want to help you eventually obtain those government contracts that have proven time and time again to be very lucrative to firms who were once exactly where you are. So they started on a webinar similar to this. This webinar series will be recorded and you can view it on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. After my team presents today's webinar, we'll open it up for Q&A, at which time you can ask all those burning questions I know you have. And certainly our presenters will be more than excited and anxious to answer those. Let me take a moment to highlight our next webinar, where my team will be presenting on the key principles of the entrepreneurial mindset. Trust me, you don't want to miss this webinar. It's a brilliant blueprint for anyone considering starting a business, already in business, or simply want to be more informed before you take the entrepreneurial leap into business. With that, I'd like to acknowledge my team on today's call, and they are as follows. Miss Jessica Vasquez, our program coordinator, Miss Tanya McGilbra, our business advisor, and of course, our presenters for this small business series, Miss Joni Hall and Mr. Austin Tenette. Take it away, Miss Joni.
All right. Good morning, and thank you, Director Turner. Happy Monday morning to everybody. So let me talk a little bit about the goals of MBDA, those mighty letters and what it is that we do and what we've been tasked to do. We're here to provide MBEs with technical assistance on obtaining certifications, provide instructor-led training like this MBDA Small Business Academy, conduct thorough assessments of each client's financial need, and target the appropriate funding for clients, to promote joint venturing amongst clients in order to maximize their chance of receiving contract awards, to facilitate transactions and business matchmaking by partnering clients with established strategic partners and connect clients with corporate partners. So in doing so, we try to pull together some things to be some great and key nuggets to help MBEs, startup businesses move forward and have some things to kind of either problem solve, troubleshoot, or see exactly where they are in their strategic business planning. With keeping these goals in mind, MBDA Amplified created the MBDA Small Business Academy. Next slide, please. Which again, that objective is to prepare aspiring entrepreneurs to win contracts with governmental agencies and learn the ABCs of government contracting. Now, this is 10-week workshops. How we're doing this is every other week we will have a workshop for 60 strong seconds and giving those strong nuggets to help you, again, pinpoint, troubleshoot, or solidify some information about the targeted series for the day. In those 60 minutes, you will be able to hear from myself and Mr. Tenette over the various topics that have been outlined. The following Monday, we will have business hours to be able to answer individual one-on-one questions, see about your targets, if you are on the right track, or where you can pinpoint where you need to pick up or start and how we can help you with that. So our targeted attendees are startups and businesses with less than 1 year old with strong commitment to doing business with the government entities. And you will see the program topics that are outlined. We do encourage you to make sure that you attend all of the webinars. It's okay if you don't, but this will again help solidify the goals of MBDA and how we can help small businesses. Now, I'm not going to take any more of your time. We're going to get into the nugget today about entrepreneurial readiness, which I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Mr. Austin Tenette. Mr. Tenette.
Ms. Hall, thank you so much for the entree, and Director Turner, thank you for setting the bar of expectations for our series here. I mean, Houston is a great city, and I'm a firm believer that there are so many pro bono resources available for entrepreneurs that success should just be a foregone conclusion. There should be no mystery as to what it takes to become a successful business owner, because there's so many resources, much like what we're creating here today. So what I want to begin the conversation here today is around the entrepreneurial mindset. And just let me take 30 seconds to give you a brief bio on myself. So again, my name is Austin Tenette. I serve as the entrepreneur in residence for the Minority Business Development Agency. So in addition to the work I do with the agency, I do a lot of work with Houston Community College and their Center for Entrepreneurship. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we have literally touched thousands of entrepreneurs just like yourselves at varying stages of their entrepreneurial journey. And I think that's important because what somebody who's been in business for 2 or 3 years, what their needs are very different from somebody who's just in the ideation phase or maybe has launched in the last 6 months. And so through our coursework and our sharing of principles throughout this series, we're going to endeavor to ensure that you get your questions answered based on where you are in your particular journey. So we're going to start here with the entrepreneurial mindset. And the thing that I can't stress hard enough is that success begins in the mind. What's between our ears is going to have a lot to do with how successful we become. Because the great industrialist Henry Ford, yes, of the Ford Motor Company, he made a comment when he was going through his journey and said, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're right. So the whole concept there is, if we can engage in positive thinking about what the journey and the road ahead of us, we're more than likely, we have a better chance of being successful. The next slide, please. So the goal here is we want to challenge your thinking. Entrepreneurship is a little crazy, because sometimes it can be a very, very lonely role, and so when it gets lonely, we have to be able to engage in self-reliance to sometimes motivate ourselves, because unlike sort of a normal job environment, we don't have a boss or supervisors that's endeavoring to create an environment where we can be successful or to give us that pep talk. We have to be our own motivational and pep talk machine. And so what we're going to talk about today, and then in our next workshop, is what are some of those mindsets, some of those internal conversations that we need to continue to have with ourselves as we propel ourselves towards a successful outcome. Next slide, please. So many years ago, there was a study that was commissioned by the Carnegie Foundation. And so what this study endeavored to do is try to understand what is it that creates success. And so the questions they asked were things like, can you share a few words that describe success? And they did this probably with 10,000 people or so, 10,000 leaders in industrial America. And so when they looked at the responses, they all fell into one of three categories. That success was a function of knowledge, skills, and attitude. And if you have access to the chat room, what do you think the percentage of what percent was knowledge as it relates to success, what percent was skills, and what percent was attitude? So if you do have access to the chat room, just throw in there knowledge first, the percentage, skills the second, and attitude the third. And so they've got to add up to 100%, if you will. And we'll just give you a minute or so to throw in your percentages. So we have a 60, 25, 15. So knowledge 65, skills 25, and attitude 15. That's a good answer. I think we have some folks that are still nurse. Maybe their Super Bowl team didn't win yesterday. So attitude is 60. So that's great. That's great. Let's grab one more, then we'll get into it. Skills 20. Okay. So when we looked at the results of this, that was and then if we were in person, I run an exercise where we go through this, for 10 or 15 minutes, and we really drill down into this exercise. But when the survey came back, it said that skills and knowledge only made up 15% of success, and there was attitude that made up the other 85%. So somebody said attitude is 60, so you got close. So it's amazing, because when you think about success, what are the things that what are the words that we use? We use words like team player, somebody who's selfless, somebody who's highly motivated. So if you think about it, it's all those kinds of things like that is what contributes to success. So when we talk about skills and knowledge, skills is the application of knowledge. Those things are important as we help to create our technical base. But it's really that the concept of attitude is what really propels us, because it's our ability to get along with other people. It's our ability to be resilient, work through difficult and challenging times, those sort of things. And so those are things that occur between our ears, as opposed to things that we're able to learn in class. So here's the interesting thing. So we know, and I've done this workshop dozens of times, and of course this knowledge has been around for quite some time. But throw in a chat box. We've all taken skills and knowledge training in either our corporate roles, or maybe what we're doing right now. But throw in a chat box. How many people, with just a yes, how many of you have taken some sort of attitude training as part of your as far as your educational regime? Just put a yes in there if you have taken some attitude training. So with a couple, well, great. Yeah, so consistently what I see is 3. With 3, that's great, because usually when I do this exercise with large groups, there's usually only 1 or 2 persons ever taken sort of attitudinal training. So this is why we're starting out with mindset, and the mindset of an entrepreneur, as opposed to some hard topic like sales or marketing. Because if we don't enter our journey with the mindset, success will be far more challenging to achieve. Next slide, please. So again, this whole attitude thing, it's, the key concept was winning the battle for your mind. Because of if you can conceive an idea or concept, it had in your mind, you have a very good chance of this absolutely occurring. Next slide, please. So when we talk about behavioral superpowers, we talked about this concept of mindset. And so in the last few years, there's been a lot of work that's shown up in the readings and research on what it takes to be successful. So there's an author, Carol Dweck, who wrote a book called Mindset, and she does a really good job of explaining the 2 types of mindsets that we as individuals have. So there's the fixed mindset, and there's the growth mindset. So if we think about fixed mindset, what does that mean? The fixed mindset, this is the mindset where we believe that there's not enough to go around, that success is limited. It's that I win, you lose, or you lose, or I lose and you win mindset. That there's only so much to go around. The pie is fixed, and so as a result, we engage when we have a fixed mindset, we engage in a mindset where we're trying to basically beat out our competitors or those around us, because our belief system that there's only enough for one person. Well, and when we talk about the growth mindset, that mindset is that there's enough for everybody. There's a sufficient amount of success or opportunities for everybody. We look at problems as opportunities to grow, opportunities to get better, maybe even opportunity to do something different. So the growth mindset is the healthy one. So maybe just if you think about kind of in your day-to-day activities, can you think of a person and maybe that's in your network that maybe regularly engages in a fixed mindset where they're somewhat negative about what's going on in their around themselves, and and the question is, what is it like to be around somebody who has a fixed mindset? Just drop a quick 3 or 4 word answer into the chat room, and we can chat about some of those people. At a personal level, I avoid people who have a fixed mindset, because as entrepreneurs, one of our key goals is, one of my favorite statements is, we become if we look at the 5 people that we spend the most amount of time with, we become the average of those 5 people. Okay, so here's one: stressful interacting with them. Absolutely, because they're these fixed mindset folks are the ones that walk around kind of with a dark cloud above their head. Nothing's ever good enough. They can never see themselves as being successful. Somebody's always got a foot on their shoulder that's keeping them down. Whereas the growth mindset is exactly the opposite of that, in that the opportunities are boundless. And so in our in our entrepreneurial journey, it's very, very healthy for us to understand what growth mindset is and to be consistently engaged in that way, so that we can, because the only thing I can guarantee you as an entrepreneur, you will hit a roadblock or two as you explore your journey. And so if every roadblock causes us to think that the world is conspiring against us to fail, your success will be, I guarantee you, your success will be limited. Next slide, please. So as we talk about mindset, the opportunity with operating under a unlimited mindset, it gets us out of that whole same old thinking, and gets us to instead of the same old thinking to deliver same old results, we're engaged in new, exciting, diverse thinking, so that we can create new results for our enterprise, and most importantly, for new solutions for the communities and the customers that we plan to serve. Okay, next slide, please. So, key principles of the entrepreneurial mindset. There are many, but we're just going to latch on to just a few here today. So, next slide, please. Okay, so as Director Turner says, we're going to engage in the the key principles in our next session. And what we want to do for the balance of this session, we want to sort of hear from our audience about, kind of what some of the key takeaways from the handful of slides that we delivered in the first few minutes of our session. And then we want to hear from you about what do you, in terms of creating a successful enterprise, what are some of the things that are top of mind for you, maybe some issues or challenges, that sort of thing, so that we can begin to really engage with our cohort here. Because the whole idea is, we can spend lots of time talking about all kinds of cool stuff, but that doesn't mean anything unless it's relevant to you or the audience that we endeavor to serve. So, Ms. Jessica, how would we like the so we're asking people to submit your questions through the Q&A feature, and then we'll respond accordingly.
So at this time, we do ask all of our participants to type your questions into that Q&A feature. If you are on a phone or driving and you can't do that, if you can use the raise your hand feature, and we'll just call on you and you can ask your question aloud. But we certainly want to hear from you. You all got some great information today, and we want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear how you think this can be beneficial to you in your business, if you're already in business, if you're thinking about starting a business, if you are, teeter-tottering. So we want to hear from you. So certainly ask your questions. And I think Tanya McGilbra is on the call. And if there are questions in that Q&A, Tanya, can you please assist with asking those questions that are there?
Yes.
Well, let me. I think Director Turner, they're still nursing their wounds from the Eagles' loss. So let's throw a few questions out there. So as you think about what we've talked about here from a mindset perspective, what do you think some of your biggest issues or concerns might be as you either begin your entrepreneurial journey or as you continue the path on your journey?
Austin, I want you to delve a little deeper into the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset, because of course, when you talked about that, what I immediately thought about was that crabs in a barrel, where we often think that there's not enough for everybody. So as soon as you start to climb up, I go and claw you back down because I don't think that there's enough for both you and I to ascend to the higher heights. So I certainly want you to delve a little deeper into that whole fixed mindset versus the growth mindset.
Yeah, so I really love that that visual picture of crabs in a bucket, because that's reality. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as we talked about earlier, is be careful of who you sort of affiliate with, because we become the kind of a person that, if we look at the 5 people that we spend the most of our time with, we could become an average of that. So if we're crabs in a bucket, we're going to become crabs as well. And what does that look like in our surroundings? So we're excited about our entrepreneurial venture, and we start to share with people, and then then we hear things like people reinforce the fixed mindset. Well, why do you want to do that? Why don't you just keep your corporate job? You're getting steady pay and you're getting benefits, right? So why would you want to take a risk and do something that's unsafe, that's risky? And so entrepreneurs that have that have the abundance mindset, we have to look beyond that, and we've got to, first of all, we got to get those folks out of our networks, and hopefully they're not a really, really close family member that's harder to extract ourselves from. But we've got to either get away from those people, or we can't listen to them. Because if you think about entrepreneurship, it's most of us think about it in terms of boundless opportunity, right? So how many large businesses have started because they found a little problem that they said there's got to be a better way to do this. So they address that particular problem, and then as they go down the path, they're open to the possibilities, and they see all of these other opportunities that present themselves. So if they have the fixed mindset that I'm going to do ABC, or I'm not going to do anything, when ABC turns against them, then that's going to fall apart. So my favorite example of this, and this is one of the people always recognize, and this is for us older folks. Maybe some of the millennials didn't experience this, but if we look at Blockbuster Video and Netflix. So Blockbuster Video, their business model was, hey, we're going to put a brick and mortar location on every corner, and people are going to come in and disrupt their daily activities and come rent media from us. Whereas Netflix had a very, very different approach, and theirs was to make it easy for their customers to do them. They were going to mail the DVDs to their customers. And so if you think about it, they went into the their business with an abundance mindset. And you see it in the name, because at the time when they started and they were mailing DVDs, there was no commercially available streaming platforms available. So they already knew going in that the mailing CDs was going to be the beginning stage, and then at some point in time when the technology caught up, they were going to be able to stream. So they went in with a very, the vision of their business was at 10 or 15,000 feet. They saw a bigger opportunity for them to play, and that's what kept them going. That's what became their vision, and most importantly, their mission to keep moving forward. Whereas Blockbuster said, "Hey, we're a brick and mortar company, limited or fixed mindset. Our business is a function of our business success is a function of how many brick and mortar stores that we can open on busy corners." So we can kind of see that. So, and here's something that's some number of people have heard the story, maybe, and some haven't, but Netflix approached Blockbuster on 2 different occasions and said, "Hey, why don't you buy us and incorporate our offering into what you're doing?" And of course, Blockbuster said no 2 times. And then, so what is it now? They've gone from literally 5,000 stores to, I think there might be maybe 1, maybe 2 stores, Blockbuster stores left, and they're probably more museum than they are functioning stores. So just curious, is anybody out there, maybe struggling or with that whole fixed versus abundant mindset?
Yeah, Tanya, can you, I think, who was it, Davion Carson, who had a very interesting
Question. There's a lot of noise and sometimes not knowing which sources to trust. Many times paying for a lot of mentoring that doesn't provide resources to move to the next level, kind of over-mentored, under-resourced. So I'm assuming that's a statement. Did you want to elaborate on that, Austin?
So it was over-mentored and under-resourced? Was that kind of the catchphrase?
Yes.
So that's very interesting, because as I said earlier, I do a fair amount of work with HCC, and we have a variety of the HCC Center for Entrepreneurship as opposed to the HCC MBDA program. So we see a lot of entrepreneurs show up. They show up to everything. They take all the classes, small business success series, this, that, the other thing, and they take them repeated times. And so, but the question we always have for those folks is, okay, well, what are you doing to put some of this learning into action, to execute against it? So we're preparing to prepare, right, as opposed to getting out and actually doing something. And so the guidance, the recommendations I would give to the person that posed that question is. So, because one of my mantras since I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, plans never fail on paper, right? We make business plans and operating plans and strategic plans, and they're absolutely perfect until they are put into action, and they are confronted with an actual customer or competitor. We'll never know the quality of our planning or analysis, or more importantly, our execution. So for folks like that, as I would say, let's go ahead and learn a few things, and we'll talk about the importance of learning when we talk about the key entrepreneurial principles in our next time. But the most powerful thing that you can do is grab your idea and put it in front of somebody and ask them what do they think. This is something they might be interested in buying, or somebody in the network might be interested in buying, that sort of thing. And just because somebody gives you feedback doesn't mean you have to act on it. I think and that's the challenging part. I think you got to take it, you got to file it away, bounce those new data points against what you already know or what you already believe, and say, hey, might this be something that could work? Or do I just say, hey, thanks, but no thanks? I think what I'm doing is going to be a little bit more strategic, or is going to have more value in the particular marketplace. And so I see this a lot, is that people just are engaged in a cycle of perpetual planning, as opposed to, let's take a couple of ideas, let's take them to the market, let's get some feedback, and then either keep going or make some minor adjustments. So I hope that answers the question.
And then Miss Joni, I think somebody must have missed, what you said. I see a question, what was the intent of the session today? So clearly that person was not on when you were speaking about the intent of today. So if you wanted to elaborate on that, would you please?
Okay, so the intent of today is that we were starting our MBDA Business Academy. And what I was explaining earlier is that what we do and the goals of MBDA, which of course the primary target is our MBEs and helping getting them matchmaking with clients that they can stem their business to and get some other resources, getting them prepared for governmental contracts and so forth. So we have put together a 10 series webinar that will help empower, troubleshoot, or even help you solidify some thought processes and where you might be in your business. What happens the following week after that? After the webinar, we will have office hours, which we will disclose those at the end of the session today, where we can talk with you one-on-one, maybe answer some of the questions like today. You hear this great information from Austin, and it might not resonate with you right away, but then you think about it and you want to say, oh, okay, this is where I am with my business or my mindset today. Is this what I want to do? Then, that's some ideas and some things that we can talk to you about in the following week. So that is the purpose of today.
I see Des Carson, he raised his hand. I'm going to mute him so he can speak. Des, are you there?
Yes. So first, I think that they were asking for Davion's question earlier. We are married. I'm his wife, but he had a different question in there. So they said his name, but then asked my question. So I did want to go ahead and elaborate.
Well, look, you speak for both of you, so you can elaborate on whatever that was.
Yeah, that's how it works at my house.
So mine was honestly about the noise being around and just not knowing really what sources to trust. And I was more so speaking, this honestly is amazing. I appreciate this and being able to even access this type of information for free. I was kind of more so speaking about like on social media, on Instagram and things like that, where you have all of the so-called gurus of every industry, and then all of them want you to spend $1,500 there, $500 there. And so really just understanding which sources to trust, even if you have like limited capital to get started. And I think that, and honestly, in listening to this, it seems as though this academy is going to really touch on sources and being that type of resource, and also offer the type of mentoring that is necessary. So I think that you guys are touching on it. I just was kind of speaking upon the Instagram piece of it all. And then his question he had was, you gotta say it again for me. I'm sorry.
Fixed mindset individuals from your life, if they're a close relative, but you want to maintain a healthy relationship.
Let me read
So
that if you don't mind. Can I read this? Fixed mindset versus growth mindset is a very powerful paradigm that can be detrimental to your success in business if you can't identify the differences between the two. How do you extract fixed mindset individuals from your life if they are close relatives, but you want to maintain a healthy relationship?
Listen, let me answer that.
Please, Director.
This is my sweet spot. I know how to do that real well. So all of us have, folks in our family who got a whole lot of extra going on, and they, you ask them one question, they give you answers to 3 things you did not ask. And, you love the person, you don't want to alienate them, but you also know that they are not necessarily the best for your own mental health. And so the way to do that and to love on them and keep them out of your personal space and out of your head is to first and foremost know who they are as a person and how they show up. But then in addition to that, know who you are and what you desire. So if I desire a peace of mind, a thriving business, a growing marriage, you know, a healthy home where I'm raising healthy kids. I'm not bringing, you know, toxic Tammy over to the house so she can disrupt all of that. Toxic Tammy has to have her place. I can still love on her and say, look, I got about 30 minutes. Let's chit chat real quick. And then we'll talk again next time. You have to be able to separate toxic people from your immediate presence, because they will drain you, they will drown you, and you'll be no good for you or anybody else. Get to the point where you can say, look, I choose me. I'm worth it. And so when you do that, trust me, other folks, they will start to see, oh, I hadn't heard from, you know, Marchette in a minute. That's on purpose. You know, you got to get to the point where you know who you are, and don't be afraid to say, no, I can't do this, or no, today ain't your day. You know, you love your family and friends, but know who they are, is what I will certainly say to that. Now, if you want, you know, a more, you know, well together answer, I can defer to one of my team members, but listen, I tend to go straight for the jugular. You know, I don't hee-haw and mix and match words. It is what it is. You know, you toxic and crazy. So I'm gonna have to stay over here in my peaceful insanity space. So that's what I will say. And thank you all for the hearts and the hand claps. I see you. Thank you so much.
And that's a great response, Director Turner. And just add to that, if somebody's offering you advice, and if there's something in their life, business life or personal life, that you don't really admire or you aspire to be, I would shut it down, right? Never take advice from somebody who's doing worse than you, right? So just absolutely shut that down.
Yeah. And by the same token, Austin, that's a good point. You know, that's like a married person taking advice from somebody who's never been married. So right. How you gonna tell me how to operate and function and flow in my healthy, loving marriage when you've never been married? So, you know, you sort of got to consider, you know, some things before you take everybody's advice.
Absolutely. Well put. Well put. Exactly. Joni, you looked a little bit engaged there. Is something you'd like to add to that as well?
All of this is excellent. This is the I high five 100 second, all of those things. I definitely can tell you, just in anything, and being a business owner, you have to stay focused. You have to have the mindset. If it's not in the mind, the heart will flicker depending upon what people say, and you want to lean into other people's understanding. So the strong mindset, Director Turner hit it spot on. Excellent examples, because they all hit on me and something, or they hit on somebody. You either fell in one or two categories. So great information.
Yeah, thanks, Joni. Appreciate that input. Absolutely spot on. I'd like to respond to something that came in through the chat room. There's a couple of notes there. This one is looks like from Sandra. It says, since entrepreneurship can be lonely at times, in what ways can you find community? So I think that's really part of our mission here, is what we're doing with MBDA Amplified. Yep. We're creating sort of a cohort, think of a community, so that we can, you know, as families do, we can just sort of let it all hang out. Hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Here, what should I be thinking about? What should I be doing? I need some help and or assistance. So being a part of this cohort, and then is going to be a great first step to creating community. And then as you go through it, or others go through this, finding ways to continue to stay engaged with your fellow cohort members offline in between our sessions, and begin to just share ideas and concepts. Because our former President Obama, one of the things I'll always remember, when he told people about their success, he said, he reminded them they did not do this by themselves. Because if you think about it, we will not be successful by ourselves, because if we're business owners, we need customers to be commercially successful. So we've got to be engaged in a process of building and expanding the communities that we delve into. And then what you'll find out is by participating in these communities, you'll find that people are either dealing with the same challenges and issues that you are, or they have already dealt with that. And most times in entrepreneurial communities, people are more than willing to help others become successful.
Absolutely. And let me also add to that, if I can. We, at the beginning of this session, we mentioned that it would be a 10-week session, and it's every other week. For those who attend every single session, we will have a certificate ceremony at the end, because we would love to bring you all to our office and grant you the certificate, and just so that you all can meet and start to build that community. And of course, you don't have to wait until the end. You can see to a person's ask them in the chat for their email or phone number or what have you. And of course, Ms. Hall and Mr. Tenette are available. They will be having, office hours. So be a part of that, because that's how you build your network. And businesses or people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So always remember that you have to build those relationships so that people can get to know you and like you and trust you. And the way to do that is this platform that we are hosting today.
And that is excellent. And Director Turner and Austin, I did want to add, I want to go back and reemphasize for some of you that might have missed in the beginning, that what we do in our goaling is we facilitate transactions and business matchmaking by partnering clients with established strategic partners and connect clients with corporate partners. So this is the phase that we have to know, what is it that you're doing business? What is your business going to do? That's why it's important, that piece, when we come to capability statements, so we can help with that matchmaking. What are you going to do? What are you going to offer? What are the benefits of clients picking you?
Great. Can I go back to the first half of that question from the husband-wife team? I recall the first part of that question was, how do we make some sense of of who to work with, and how do we say no to the Instagram offers of $1,500 to bring you internet riches and millions? I love that question. I love that question, because I get hit probably 5 times a day of somebody offering to bring me endless referrals, endless leads, so on and so forth. So I think the first thing is, you've got to have a real, and it's been mentioned previously, and I'm just kind of pulling it together, but we got to be real clear about what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So we've got to do some sort of self-education, maybe even create a 1 or 2 page business plan, strategic plan, so we can get really, really clear on what is it we're trying to accomplish and what that looks like. And then we've got to do a little bit of a self-assessment that says, hey, here's what I really do well, and kind of here's what I'm struggling with. So again, as I mentioned earlier, I think in the city of Houston, there's no excuse, because there's so many complementary resources that are free. Does not mean low quality. It just means that you find yourself in Houston in a community of very, very giving people as it relates to the entrepreneurial community. So, between the MBDA, some things over at HCC, SCORE, SBDC, once you've done your part and you created sort of your way forward, and ask somebody to say, well, hey, will you take a look at this and help me, or assess my ability to execute against this, you'll be in a better position to figure out what specific resources that you need. And sometimes that Instagram advertised program might be the right fit, but probably more oftentimes than not, it's probably not. But those programs are typically for people who won't do the work, the hard work that's required to figure out who they are, what they need, and what the way forward looks like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any more questions or observations?
One of the questions in the chat room, it says, what type of businesses serve the contracts available from the government? And so it's one word: everything. Because if you think about it, the governments, and think state, local, and federal, they are businesses as well. So they have entertainment needs when they do their events for their employees. Just about anything you can think of at some point in time, one of those governmental entities will need to acquire. I was in a workshop last week, and this woman said, "Hey, I do catering," and just as an example, we went to one of the databases, and there were a number of procurements available out there for people that could do catering for for some sort of holiday event or something related to that. So there's a great need, and so as we get further into the series, we're going to talk about how do you go about finding opportunities that are right for your businesses, and then focusing on the right type of certification that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any more questions or anything in the chat room?
I see nothing here.
All are a good group. Okay. Well, we hope to see each of you on our next webinar, which will not be next week, but the following week. And again, keep in mind that if you attend all 10 of these small business series webinars, we will have an in-person certificate appreciation ceremony, so that again, we can meet you, you can meet us, you can physically talk to us in person, and just sort of tell us where you are in terms of your business. So are you a startup? Are you an established business? Are you thinking about business? You just fed up with business? Whatever the case is, we want to hear from you. And so again, for those of you who attend all 10 of these webinars, there will be a certificate ceremony, and we will certainly host you at our 3100 Main Administrative Building.
And then before we wrap up, Joni, if you'd be so kind just to share, kind of what we plan to do at our office hours this time next Monday.
Absolutely. So basically what we want you to do, our information will be provided, our email addresses. You can email myself and Austin, one or the other or both is not a problem. We schedule appointments in a 60-minute time slot. So we ask that you do come prepared and that you have your questions. If you have a capability statement that you want us to look at, that will be great when you email us if you can attach it. You can even go forward as enough to start providing us with the questions that you want, so we have some idea of your business, what it is that you're looking for us to help you with. We again keep it tight with those 60 minutes. It does not say that that's going to be your one session, but that is what we start with, so we can service everybody. We give you about 5 minutes to get on, and if not, we have to move on because we have a lot of people that want to talk to us. So we are eager to help everybody. So office hours start next Monday. You email us, and we will email you back a time that we will set up an actual Teams meeting. And we ask that if your connection is not good, that you let us know if we need to do a conference versus on that on Teams. So, and we'll work from there.
And I would certainly encourage you all to please utilize those office hours. Those can be more beneficial to you than you ever imagined. So please email Joni Hall and Mr. Austin Tenette about office hours. They are critical to any small business because you're being trained and advised by professionals. This is not something we just, woke up this morning and decided to do. These folks have been in this business, been in this space for years. So they know what they're speaking about. They know what, the expected outcome should be. So utilize them for that purpose. All right. Well, we are giving you all 8 minutes back. Thank you so much again. We do appreciate you. Thank you for joining us and taking a few moments out of your day to be a part of this webinar. And again, we look forward to you reaching out to Ms. Hall and Mr. Tenette, and then certainly look forward to you all participating in our next webinar. So be on the lookout for more information relative to that as well. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Director Turner.
Thank you. Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.